Wes, we need to... Come on, man. I've seen some churches doing something wrong.
Wrong? Churches never do anything wrong.
Well, we need to cover love offerings. We need to talk about love offerings and some ways that I've seen churches do it the wrong way. And yes, there is a wrong way to handle love offerings. Even though they're a great way to show love to somebody,
They are.
the moment money gets involved, there is a wrong way to do it. So we need to talk about that.
Downhill so fast.
Now, before we get in, let's just cover the groundwork and talk about what are love offerings real quick, just to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
What would you say is like the main purpose of a love offering?
I mean, it's an opportunity outside of the norm to bless.
Yes. Meeting unique needs
Yeah.
is probably like the most common reason for a love offering. Maybe a member comes down with like an unexpected illness or injury, and so the rest of the congregation shows up for them. It's great. Also, donating to a visiting missionary or minister, that actually counts as a love offering.
Yeah.
And then also supporting the ministry beyond tithes. So, or celebrating milestones. I've seen a church do that too.
Yeah.
Where like a minister has some big milestone. Maybe they've served for 10 years. I actually went to a church where the music minister had their 10th anniversary. The church threw a big party, took up a love offering. It was great.
That's a big milestone.
It's a big milestone,
to be able to
yes.
deal with those same people for 10 years. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, on purpose. So let's talk about the wrong way to do it though.
Okay.
So what I've seen some churches do is they take up a love offering. You know, the offering plate zigzags its way through the sanctuary.
Yeah.
And then once it gets to the back, they maybe bring it to the front where the visiting missionary or minister
Or person in need.
or the person in need is. And they take that offering plate, they take all the money out of it and just hand it right to that person.
Why?
I know. And like, that's terrible.
That's the wrong way.
So like for a love offering, for any donation, this covers any donation, not just a love offering, but for love offerings, they have to be recorded.
And so
Absolutely.
to rebuttal to you in the voice of that one pastor that's on YouTube everywhere, but why?
But why? The reason why is because you're like, if it's not recorded, it didn't happen, according to the IRS. In other words, if your organization doesn't record that income, even if you're only acting as a pass-through, then the donor can't write that off on their taxes.
They cannot.
It has to be
That's so important.
recorded.
You need to say that again.
Yes. Your donors can't write that off on their taxes if you don't record that donation.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in a sanctuary watching that happen, and it dawned on me like, wait, you didn't count. Like, how does this work? Like, this was a donation, not me just I didn't need you to do this. I could have handed that $20 bill to that person. So you have to record the donation. That's for the donor's sake, but also for the recipient's sake.
So that's one reason there is because a lot of churches do this. I've worked with, and it's not just small up and coming churches that have just started. I've seen churches that are long time established churches that do this. And that's one reason in itself is you technically can't give people contribution statements if you're not recording these love offerings.
Yes.
So that should be enough reason. But what are some other reasons?
Well, the other reason is that the recipient would actually have to record that as taxable income if it's handed straight from the donor to the recipient and not passed through the organization.
So let's say we're taking up a love offering because, God forbid, something happened to me and the church is helping provide for me so I can pay these medical bills. And let's say I get $10,000 from the church for these medical bills. Well, that $10,000 I just received, when it comes tax time, I have no way of explaining how I just got $10,000 to the IRS, and so then I'm taxed on that.
It's primarily an issue for like ministers and missionaries. So like if you were to give money directly to like an employee of the church or to a traveling missionary or minister,
Like Cash App.
like Cash App, yes, they have to record that as taxable income.
Yep.
If you give directly from the donors to the recipient. It has to pass through the church. The church has to have some discretionary fund. Call it the love offering fund, whatever you want to call it. But there has to be a discretionary fund. And the donors cannot determine how the church applies those funds. That's key. I cannot tell the church, here's $20 for so-and-so missionary.
No.
Because the moment that happens, it's taxable income.
Yep.
Or at least it's not tax deductible for the donor. But if I were to just hand $20 to a missionary, they would have to count that as income.
Yeah.
So the church has to receive it, put it in that discretionary fund, then give that money to the like traveling evangelist or something like that.
Yeah.
Preferably to that traveling evangelist's ministry, not to the evangelist itself.
To their ministry.
That way it's a love donation from the church to the ministry, not from the members to the minister. Because the moment that happens, your donors can't write that off on their taxes, and the recipient can't receive that and just apply it straight into ministry. They have to pay taxes on it.
But I feel like you just complicated everything, Matt. I want to be able to give to someone for a good reason, and you've just made it to where it's like, why should I even give? Because now it's all complicated.
Well, if that's the case, there's the only way to do this where the donors give is if they are able to give to the ministry, not to the minister.
Yeah.
Because then that's just a donation from the donor to that ministry, and that's a tax-deductible donation on behalf of that ministry. Mm-hmm. But then that ministry has to send them a contribution statement. So it's incumbent on churches to make this as smooth and easy as possible for the donors, but also handle it in a way that is transparent and maintains accountability.
And so this, I know I don't want to get out too much on a tangent here, but this is why it's always best typically for a church to be handling those funds if they're giving it to that ministry of that traveling evangelist or something. Yeah. Because if they don't, and then that evangelist or whoever, they have to send individual contribution statements to every person technically. And that's really messy if you're traveling all around the country and stuff. Yeah. Whereas if you only have to give those contribution statements to the churches that supported you, so much easier.
So much easier.
That's not, I always knew this, but it kind of just more so dawned on me in this moment here in time, and I had to think.
It's literally easier for everybody.
Yes, it is.
Even the church leadership. Yes. So especially if you're using church software like ChurchTrac, we include giving and contribution software or giving feature in ChurchTrac for any paid subscription, even on the standard subscription. Yeah. You can go to the giving and pledges screen and easily just add a batch of donations. Let's just pretend like we're at church right now and they just made a donation as a love offering for a fellow member.
Yeah.
So we'll use today as the batch date. All I have to do is click the add contributions button, enter the name of one of our donors, add the amount that they gave, and then just select the love offering category. And that labels it properly, puts it in the right fund in the accounting software so that we can then generate reports on that, put it in the it automatically gets added to the contribution statements, but we can also generate reports on that quarterly or annually just to have that accountability and transparency for how the love fund has been managed.
I like that almost as much as I like this video that you're watching.
Definitely like this video. If you liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel just to stay up to date on everything else that we're doing. And also reach out to the support team if you're using our ChurchTrac software. If you have any questions about how to create those contribution statements, send it to all of your people or manage your love offering fund. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a blessed day.